Facebook group. I'm like, what? It's over on Facebook. And I was like, I thought about that. I'm like, holy shit, that's awesome. And then I made this yesterday. Basically because I saw the exact same thing happening. I need to do one of Uzaki-chan because I've made an actual meme of it, but I need to make one. I need to make a Jason Schreier Soy Jack based off this. He literally looks like a combination of a Soy Jack. He's a Soy Jack equivalent of a short-haired Kid Icarus, and I need to do this. Oh god, that's hilarious. Thank you.
Give 2 minutes of pre-roll. I need to pee. Also, we are technically live now.
Oh, awesome. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I see it.
Oh, my balls.
Valley of the
I need to get
Fans.
a new chair.
Better do that, yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Oh, like clockwork. Mama.
Of course.
And now that that's done,
You did sound like you bopped your head on the mic. I think Black Cat was onto something there.
no, I had to leave the room because I was going to go get the thing.
Well, you sat down and it sounded like you bonked your head on something. That's what I'm referring to.
That's because my ass is fat.
Hate me all you want. You put your hands on fatten this ass.
And on that, and on that note.
Oh, we are Venom. I was referring. I was referring to We Are Venom from fucking Spider-Man. What are you talking about? I don't know what you were talking about, but I was just quoting MVC2. But oh, well, I guess you know. Then I haven't seen the first one yet. So what do I know? Fuck me. I guess. Woo! So we're back. Yes. What with Carnage? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, I see where you're going with this. Because honestly, I kind of agree. I mean, it kind of reminds me of fuck. What was it? Um, the fuck it. The fan. Fuck. Right. I was thinking of the knockoff podcast that Red Letter Media does. The whole bit where they're having a panic attack over the fact that Sony is still has Spider Man. And like Rich is like, fuck Sony. Like, do we know what's happening? I don't know. We don't know anything. God, they are so good. Their sarcasm is some of the best. I fucking love those guys. The Rogue One opening bit, the cold open is it's better than the fucking Rogue One movie itself. Or their Captain Marvel cold open, which had absolutely nothing to do with Captain Marvel, and it was basically them just bashing on their own city, their own state, and how Milwaukee's not classy enough. Oh god, that was. Anywho, it. Oh, oh, joy! With the power of television, it's your going to land a make believe. Oh wow, I see. Oh, what the? What is that blue stuff? Oh dear. So what happened if I may inquire? Stop inquire. We had a leak. Yeah, a lot of mold. So mold. Okay. Yeah. Line the playback machine, Mr. Peabody. Yep. Well, oh, Coral, that be puberty. Are you sure about that? Oh, apparently we can't hear Carl. Apparently, Accent Zero said he can't hear Carl. That sucks. I mean, I don't see your volume thing here. To be fair,
Okay, fix it. Microphone.
can we? Yeah. Sorry about that.
So no one could hear anything I was saying just now. Let me repeat
I
it.
don't know.
What we're seeing
Go ahead.
here on tape, everybody, is damage of the home. This is my bedroom you're standing in from a couple of days ago. This is not what it looks like now, but it's generally what it looks like before. So here on the thing, just like I was saying, let me go back a fucking fortnight, 2 weeks and a couple of days ago. There was a period of time when I was just stuck at home, out of work, and I couldn't do shit, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And the problem was pneumonia. I did not know what the illness was, and I couldn't figure it out. And
so it wasn't the coof. Okay, well.
No, it was not. It was the onset of mold spores fucking my body up something fierce.
Oh, fucking hell, man. That sucks.
So what happened was, when the house was built by the original owners, that wood there you see is parquet flooring, because this used to be their trophy room. Everything in the house was floored with wood or tile. Like either tile or laminate.
Carpet underneath?
No, carpet on top.
Okay.
They put carpet pad on top of what's called parquet flooring, which is 5 wood blocks glued together down on the concrete. Okay. And then they put carpet over top of that. Okay. The problem that happened is somewhere inside of our AC system in the attic, the line broke. And the drip line that goes into the stack in the block underneath the concrete was not getting the water. The water was just dripping directly down the line on the vent, and the vent on the wall on the outside there, which if you go back to the start here, I can't find my mice again. There you go. That vent there on the top left, that connects to the back side of my closet wall. So as the water dripped down the wall, it got onto the carpet, and as it dripped down onto the carpet, I lost the ability of having a proper bedroom, because what happened was it started seeking into the carpet there, and the carpet went all the way around the room because they put the carpet pad on top of the parquet flooring in this room. I told this to my mother at the time, and I told her, you need to get somebody here immediately, because if you don't, it's going to soak through the floor. And it's going to destroy the entire carpet itself, everything's going to be wet, and it's going to be a goddamn massacre. She waited 5 days before actually getting somebody out here. And then they were able to actually start cutting out the floor, because I was preventing it from spreading with what amount of towels I had. But you see, the problem with this is that when you try to stop something with towels, you usually can put it at the source of the water, or you can put it at the source of what the spill is, right? Put absorbency down on the thing. When you have water coming out of a space that's basically coming from a free-flowing line, there's nothing that can prevent it other than stopping the use of the thing that you want. Because it was coming from the AC, and we're in the dead-ass fucking parts of summer.
Yeah.
The AC... Yeah. First off, we didn't know it was the AC. That's the first problem. Second problem is, after we know it was the AC, no, we have to keep the AC on. I'm too hot.
Well, they should have got someone out here sooner now, shouldn't you, lady?
This is the woman who was gonna lie about it. What do you mean? My son, his health. Fuck that shit. I'm hot. So, fast forward a week later from the actual sickness, we actually start seeing the water damage. There's water that was coming up in between the tiles because it wasn't just spilling into the carpet, it was spilling anywhere where the floor's connected. And now that it's actually torn out, you can't see it here. I could turn the camera on temporarily to show it, but I've actually shown this. I've shown this already on my stream. The entirety of my inside closet wall is cut through. The bottom half of the wall, the drywall is gone. The inside drywall is gone. The upper part of the drywall that's left is higher than the actual outside wall on the other end. And the only reason that isn't fully removed is because that part wasn't wet. And it wasn't forming mold. Half of the floor that is just the concrete is barren now. The part of the floor that still has carpet is the parts that had shit already on it. So there's like some carpet in the corner of the room, like
that
in the far off.
Slight echo though, at least.
Like in the far off corner of the bedroom, there's a little bit of carpet that's left near my dresser. My bed is now intimately closer to my desk because they moved my desk all the way forward.
I'm starting to get an idea what it's like now, and like from what I've seen of your room before, I still believe me, Carl. I'm gonna make a recreation of your room now that I'm using Blender more.
Anywho. Now that you well, now that's gonna go because now the dimensions of the room have infinitely changed and will probably infinitely change again.
Well, Well, at the same time, I mean, I'm working on something, dude. Honestly, that Clinton residence was a pretty good setup. I gotta say, it gave off a similar vibe to your place. Let's be honest.
But more importantly, basically, this is what it sounded like to be in my bedroom. That blowing sound is the sound of...
make a video at the end of the league with how little I log out.
Well, first off, the sound that you're hearing there, that's me listening to, fucking Scissorin while I'm playing Path of Exile. But more importantly, that soft whirring sound you're hearing, which, number one, tells me that my mic setup is working correctly. That was the sound of 5 industrial fans and a dehumidifier.
For me, make a video just covering all the logouts and also reasons for why I logged out.
Like, I wrote down that I couldn't work in these conditions and that I couldn't stream at all while it was happening.
Well, that explains why we didn't have a podcast last week.
Well, you really want the ability to...
Ergo, why the title is Carl and the Valley of the Fans. The fans were...
Oh, now I get it. I was not sure what you meant by that. Now I get it.
You're actually lucky about... People are actually lucky about this, because this is something Jay talked me down from. I think it was either...
A woman's role is to offer some sanity to your life, especially if she's a black woman. I know that may sound stereotypical, but I think Carl knows how the legitimacy of it.
No comment. So what had happened was is that on Saturday, in the top of the work week, while these fans were still here, I was upset about this. And there's a video that I'm going to be dropping soon that I've already talked about on my other on my stream earlier, on the first few days, that I'm going to drop. And I'm not going to say when I'm going to drop, but it's going to be a video that you all know is coming. And you know exactly why it's coming. Before I came up with doing that, I was going to go down to whatever arts and crafts store was going to be open, and I was going to buy either a giant whiteboard or 3 smaller whiteboards to communicate to chat with. And I'm still going to do this, but it's not going to be to interact with chat. It's going to be more like to put on the back wall as like features of messages and shit like that. But you know, like an e-girl, like an e-girl. And she called me in the middle of fucking traffic to tell me, "Listen here, you little motherfucker. No more of this sad sack shit. Enough is enough. I can't stand it anymore." And I'm trying to fucking dodge in between cards and shit, because of course, the lamp didn't do a damn thing. These niggas still trying to run me over. I am in the middle of traffic while she's trying to call me, and I have to pull up on the fucking sidewalk right outside of a major shopping district that's near a highway so that I could answer her. And she talked me down from doing this because she said, wait until Monday. Wait until Monday, and you go from there. They ended up coming and getting them the very next day, but talked me down from the original idea I was going to have. And had I done that, I would have been sitting here fucking mad as shit at myself for having spent money that I technically shouldn't have spent on shit I didn't technically need. Now I can do it for fun reasons, but I was thinking of doing a workaround for something that had even been happening, which was just compounding problem on top of other compounding problems.
Okay.
That's what happened last week, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. We need to have Jay on at some point. This is gonna be interesting. She's a positive influence here. I want to make sure I go on record saying that, because I'll try and tell you something like that, and you'll be all like, "No, I'm not gonna do that," or like I'll try and say something, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to cheer him up, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Don't do that," and he's like, "Okay," and sure enough, things worked out. Okay, awesome. That makes me happy.
She has a way. I didn't say a way with words. I didn't say she has control over me. I said she has a way. She can speak directly to the spirit a way that you can't. That's why.
Well, yeah, I'm a guy.
Eh.
I know you go both ways, Carl, but there's only so much I can do.
It depends. Get a some microphone and then hit me up in an hour. Anyways, Charza, what's good this week?
Yes. What's good this week? Yes, plenty of things. Well, let me just pull up some shit I've been noticing. Because there's been a lot of things going on Twitter. Carl wanted me to run this show today, more or less, and I took it on to a certain extent. But where to begin? I unfortunately didn't even whip up a list or anything. I'm just gonna have to.
Just send me the links and I'll throw it.
I know, but I don't really have anything. That's the problem. I'm kind of shooting darts in there, but there were a few things I wanted to discuss. One thing I'll start off with. I don't have a link for it, but I heard this last night as I was getting off work and getting to me some Coney dogs. Apparently, because the reason I bring this up is because we wanted to do a dramatic reading of the Powerpuff Girls script, and sure enough, someone has already jumped ship. Blossom has jumped.
Oh yeah, I already knew that. Chloe Bennett jumped out the project.
What?
Yeah, Chloe Bennett. That's the actress's name.
Yes, Chloe Bennett has left the role of Blossom in the CW's Powerpuff Girls live action series. One of the tweets I found just now said, "Everything is fine," and I'm like, yeah, Confish TV had an amazing video, and that's where I first heard it, and I'm just sitting here laughing because it's on its way. That's one thing. I'll lay out a few ideas because I'm scrolling through my timeline because the Suicide Squad came out. I don't know if you've seen it, Carl.
Yes, I have.
I fucking enjoyed it. It was a breath of fresh air, which is not saying much.
It didn't annoy me, but I'm going to go ahead and agree with the Red Letter Media's take on this because it was the same take that I had with Jay because I watched it with Jay. It did what the other one could not do, but it is not perfect. Yes. It's a little bit shitty, but if we're talking about the difference between a soulless cash grab turned out by a major corporation and holy shit, you let the actor do something. Damn, you let the director direct.
It's almost like the artists do their thing. We'll make it good. What a concept.
Like this thing that they did with the Suicide Squad in comparison to Ayer's Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
you still got people up there screaming, "Release the Ayer cut." Y'all motherfuckers are the reason why you're getting your fat asses sold back to you anyway with Marvel to begin with. Get past this idea of corporations needing to stand your fucking corporatist beliefs because they will capitalize on it as they do with capitalism and they will continue to sell you what you think you want. What you want is not fucking the Suicide Squad as done by James Gunn. What you want is something other than the shit you've been sold. Right?
Yeah.
This is my feeling watching WandaVision, which is why I'm still kind of sad we didn't get to go through WandaVision in full. But having seen WandaVision myself, having watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier with Jay, and having watched Loki by myself, and then literally calling the plot of the entire show before I even watched it, and then calling it directly from day one. Literally, they were going to do the shit that they have been doing. They're going to kneecap Loki. They're going to give the show to their fake-ass piece of shit, run-down lady Loki fucking Sylphie bullshit.
Can I note something about that real quick? The fact that they took this, they essentially butchered Lady Loki and Enchantress in one foul swoop.
Yeah, because motherfuckers don't read comics.
Yeah. Honestly, motherfuckers don't read comics. That is WandaVision's that's the entire problem with WandaVision in literally one sentence.
Oh no, it is exactly the problem. The parts of the thing that they made up, the parts of the film that everybody likes, I'm calling them films because they are motion picture film series,
films,
but they're films. They're fucking films, okay?
Yeah. Agreed.
All the parts of WandaVision that people liked, the era nodding to pieces of television and the set tricks, the actual fact that they were filming on an actual set, using all the TV tricks of yesteryear to fill in with this loving story about grief and them trying to do their own thing and be unique for like 80% of the project where that actually worked. That was Kevin Feige. The fucking sword, let's give Monica Rambeau superpowers, but also let's acknowledge the fact that we know she's from the comic book and she came before by using comic accurate versions of her outfit. So when we make this bitch Spectrum, you don't say, but you didn't do the thing. extrapolate that, take that and put that inside of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then extrapolate that again, and then do it twice over, and then extrapolate that and put it in Loki. There's your problem with the Netflix streaming series, as I called it years before in a throwaway video that I still have to make about The Witcher, which I'm still researching. That's...
Oh, really?
Yes, that's the entire fucking problem. Yes, also, that's still coming soon. I'm still working on it. I have to chase down a couple of more interviews, and I need to find a particular tweet from the showrunner. Specifically the one where she said that she would totally do it by the book and would never betray that. I had it at one point, but my many tweets that I have that get attacked by people who don't like me, I have to go through it again, because when an account on Twitter blocks you, when you try to use advanced search to find it, it becomes twice as hard to find.
I can see that.
But yeah, that's the problem with Marvel in total. They do not read the comic books. They are making things for an audience that has never heard of these characters because, like Red Matter Media actually explained this when they were talking about the Suicide Squad.
Oh god, that was a really...
There's...
Go into that.
Like, the concept of, like, why you can't buy characters from Marvel and why it's really hard to do with copyright. This is something that Disney's been responsible for, because Disney's the reason why copyright's fucked.
Believe me, I'm gonna have a tangent that after you're done with this that I'm gonna go into, because I have firsthand experience, and I was so happy they brought this up. But go on ahead, though.
The problem with this is something that people should be aware of, and if you're not, and this is the first time you're hearing about it, the way that copyright used to work is that it would have a redundancy period. And after this redundancy period was finished, the product went into public domain. So there's a bunch of comics that should have...
I will also note here real quick. If you want a detailed breakdown, M. Clement has a trilogy of videos. The third one is the one that breaks all the shit down. Continue. Sorry.
But all of these characters were supposed to have been in public domain. The problem with Disney, which is technically the same problem on the different front when it comes to right for repair with Apple.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to proprietary software.
Yep.
These companies have lobbyists that have been screaming and getting Congress by means of giving them money and kickbacks, which, for those of you wondering why does Disney have a globalist firm that looks into international spying, there's your reason. They have these globalist kickbacks given to Congress so they can continue to fuck around with copyright law. That's why Mickey Mouse didn't enter, or isn't going to enter into public domain until a certain period of time.
It's less than a decade, by the way. My friend and me have been counting it down since high school. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, but continue.
On top of that, there's this entire idea and clause that comes with fair use that requires works be transformative, as well as interpretations of works and actual ownership of a source material, allowing you to do what you want. A good example...
Another thing to note, and this is a big part about why copyright law originally had a grace period and ran out, and this is something that he covers a bit, in 11, is that everything is a derivative of something else. If you look back on the creation of Batman and Superman, for example, especially Superman, the reason why he has the tights is because he was based off the strongman concept from a circus. And when you think about a lot of superheroes, they're basically the modern myth, as they've always been saying, because they're basically Hercules or other myths. They're derivatives of like demigods, which are derivatives of other things. And if you look back at the Epic of Gilgamesh, is another example, another bloody good example. But everything's a derivative of something else. Original copyright law was designed around that very premise and allowed people, like a patent, to not lessen their lords. But anyway, sorry, I had to insert that.
Yeah, and worry. We talked about this before their podcast. To make a long story short, the reason why this shit's so fucking dumb, especially when it comes to there's a video that Razorfist actually did specifically about the eras of films and how they go out of style. That
was an amazing video.
At a point of exhaustion when it comes to cape shit.
Yep.
There's been way too much cape shit, and we're deep inside of the deconstruction era of the cape shit dumb fuckery. And if any person actually looked at the behind-the-scenes making of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you can hear directly from the mouth of the fucking creator saying things like, we needed to get the black man being in the military correct, and such pieces of shit as, we wrote Carly as a hero, the villain character, the terrorist. We wrote her to be a sympathetic villain so that people could see themselves in her. The reason why they did that is because activists are the people who work at Disney. And at Marvel as a whole, but mainly when it comes to actual comic book division, all of the people who work in that division, and a lot of the people who work around them, are of the same like mind. They believe in making the personal political, and in making their propaganda, because it's not art, it's propaganda, reflect their politics. So, that means in WandaVision, we're going to do dumb shit, and then it also means, because we don't read the books, we're going to lean on a storyline that requires a character like Mephisto. We're going to put in those details we want, because, hey, we want to have Wanda have kids, but we are too stupid to know that that specifically is tied to a serious thing. And Eric D. Delay over on the Rip of 5'9", Young Ripper, I just think is there. I think it's just Eric D. July for him. Over on his podcast, he pointed this problem out, because this was what I was just talking about. The parts of the show that were good were made by Feige. The parts of the show that was bad was done by somebody who didn't even know that that was a thing. And that was somebody from the comics division. Comic writers don't know what's in the fucking comic books.
Of course.
Then, you have Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Pure, open-mouth propaganda.
Yeah.
And then, Loki. Perfect case example. You have versions of it. You have the open-mouth shill. You have the corporate propaganda. And then with Loki, you have the overabundance of fan service, which then proves a point that I've been tired of. Which is, why aren't you guys just literally doing the thing? Which, references and eye gags on top of references, and Tara Strong as Miss Minutes.
Can I note something?
Yeah, go ahead.
That I really personifies.
Go ahead.
There's two things. First off, when I think the WandaVision really was a watershed moment, because people realized that the fans and their breakdowns of what could be there was better than what was on the show itself. You know, you have a problem.
That's always been the problem.
The discourse, it became abundantly clear, because all these people had all these theories and all these ideas, and none of it showed up. And people were like, "Wait a minute, why am I watching this?" This is the fans came up with better theories and better explanations. Like, there was one I saw that I thought was really creative, where they could work in Wonder Man, and I'm like, that makes perfect sense. It almost like it took an idea and just like almost like a total like. The idea was that essentially the AI that became Jarvis was co-opted from the company that Masters had, and he based it off himself. So it was almost like a roundabout way of explaining, oh yeah, Vision technically is the same like he is in the comics, being based off Wonder Man in a roundabout way. But they didn't do that. That alone would have been really fascinating. They didn't do that. They went to the most bare bones bullshit, and everyone noticed that. Everyone was all excited, like, "Oh, Mephisto's gonna be in this?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't know who Mephisto is. What are you talking about?" And everyone just collectively groaned. And let me put it this way about this is an actual real fucking thing. Okay, that happened in my life. I was I have a therapist that comes in every week. We see each other Thursday, and we were talking. I've noticed this shift. She's been enjoying all the Disney stuff, all the Disney Plus Marvel stuff, and I've noticed me become more and more and more cynical as we talk about it. Like, she's been loving all of it, and I fucking hate it. Like, after a while, but at first you're both really excited, and I just fucking hated it. And there was one thing I noted to her, because it was right before the final episode of Loki came on, okay? And I thought to myself, I told her, I'm like, there's something I think that might happen. I hadn't even watched the show past part of the first episode at that point. And I'm like, I don't really want to watch it, but I have a feeling I know what's going to happen. And she's like, okay, well, I won't spoil anything, but and I'm like, and then like, but I said, and I quote, I am almost entirely certain the man behind the curtain is Kang. But I don't know if that's the case, because I casted him for the new Ant-Man movie, which is basically going to be Young Avengers. And then the next week, she's like, oh yeah, I guess you're right, what's Kang? I'm like, I told you! Also, I know why they did it, but I We was Kangs. What else do I need to say?
I mean, the thing about that is that that's less. Oh man, they knew the meme, and it's more like Jonathan Majors killed the role, which I guess is the only piece of praise I can give Loki. There's so much wrong with Loki. Like
it came off. It had the potential to basically be a high budget version of 80s Doctor Who, and it fucked it up.
I mean, no, ooh, no. I have to disagree with that. I have to push all the way on that. The problem with Loki is you took a actor like Tom Hiddleston, a dude that did shows and shit
Carl,
like the vampire movie. What?
Let me clarify. I'll rephrase that. They essentially, the problem with the show is they took, like you said, Loki, Hiddleston, and they put him in essentially a Kang story. Because the more I looked into Kang, the more I realized this is basically Kang's story with Loki tacked on.
Oh, no, it's not. It's Sylvie's story with Loki tacked on. Fuck you mean? I guess the problem with the entire show as a whole, the show's title name is Loki. Meanwhile, Sylvie dragging Loki along like a fucking purse puppy. Oh my god, baby. I was going to kill people. I was ready to genocide a city. And I was in chains and shit. I picked up the goddamn Tesseract. I was ready to murder people. But, oh my god. Loki. I need the femme Loki, okay? I need to fuck it. I need it. I want it. I have it. Mea culpa. I'm changed now. I like people.
The saddest part, Carl, is that I had this really funny idea for a series called Meet the Lokis. And the whole idea was prefaced on the joke that Loki fucks off to Midgard and raises a family in the sitcom environment, and his wife is literally himself. And now I can't even do that now because they fucked it up. That pisses me off. It was a great idea for a series.
Like, as soon as I had an idea of what they fucking casted them for, the problem with this series is that it solves and then breaks and then solves and then breaks infinitely every single issue that a person can have with the MCU as a whole. Because now it's no longer the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's the Marvel Cinematic... Well, that too, but it's now the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. Because why would you create all of these shows like Marvel What If? Why would you have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Why would you announce these timelines of events unless you are creating a literal timeline franchise of events to move you from one thing to another? But this is the problem with the MCU as a whole. Rather than being films that did a thing and did those things well, and then, oh man, I'm really having fun. What's that? More film? God damn, I didn't even know you had more film here. Instead, it's, here's the timeline. Here's what we're building. Here's what it's leading to. Here's where it's going. Here's these extra shows. Stay tuned. Just watch content and make sure to buy Disney Plus so you can watch it live.
Student content, and then get excited. Well, not only that, Carl, they're not going to release any of this shit on DVD anymore.
Well, worse than that, it's not just not going on DVD. It's like there's no fanfare, there's no excitement, there's no event around it.
No one's excited.
No one's excited to watch this garbage. And on top of that, even if you watch this, by the way, pirate it. Do not give them your money. If you're not going to give them your money, do not even give them your emotions. They deserve nothing less than your apathy, because that's the only thing that kills it. They saw this when it came to a fucking Falcon and a Soldier. They wanted a violent outbreak reaction to all this fucking propaganda they wrote, because this is how they do it.
No one cared.
No one gave a shit, so it fell on its face, and that's the only response it should get. Is what some people should have given it to He-Man, especially when they realized this shit was happening too, but they didn't get that. Well, so I mean, I'll say it again.
Carl, everyone's ignoring it now.
Like they're doing it now because they've been told to. Nobody should have told their ass. Like that's half the goddamn problem. You shouldn't be waiting for me, and you shouldn't be waiting for Neon. You shouldn't be waiting for Clownfish TV. You shouldn't be waiting for anyone to tell you this is garbage. You should be able to look at it and say, this is garbage. This is the other thing we talked about before we went live.
Oh, God.
Like, because this is just garbage, okay? Now, if you want me to extrapolate on what's wrong with Loki, I can tell you right goddamn now what the goddamn problem. You took Tom Hiddleston, your villain actor, the actor who got bitches wet to get choked the fuck out by a dictator. You took the character actor who does that, and you said, no, let me have you simp for a female variant of yourself. And let's call the show Loki, but let's have you doing nothing led by your decisions and actions. This is very much Lady Loki / Enchantress / Sylvie's story. And at the end of this story, there is no complete story. There is no hero's journey. There is none. The hero's journey happened in episode 1 when you showed him his fucking life story, and then he dies, right? There is a fucking thread one of my followers wrote, the Struggler, who wrote that a version of this that they could have done is that they could have actually did a fake out where this Loki outright fucking takes this opportunity and chance, kills Sylvie, and then becomes responsible for the TVA. Yeah, it would have made people not happy and shit, but it would have been a divisive choice. It would have been a choice that mattered, and more importantly, in a story where you're essentially saying everything that has ever happened before. Because this is the other thing Loki did. This is the first breaking. Everything in the MCU was planned, designed by Kang. Kang designed every single choice. Nobody had free will. What was meant to happen had to happen, and if it didn't happen that way, you were going to get melted. Tony's parents had to die. Otherwise, the Winter Soldier gets melted. Obadiah Stane had to sell drugs and missiles and weapons under the table and try to fuck Tony over. Otherwise, he gets melted. Ant-Man and fucking Yellow Jacket had to have their fucking train battle the way that they did, and Yellow Jacket had to be a villain who turned another dude into a piece of fucking gloop, primordial fucking glop. Otherwise, he would have been melted. Thanos had to snap half of the universe. Otherwise, he would have been melted. And the Avengers were allowed to go back in time and do all this shit because it was part of the plan. All of this to ensure a multiversal war didn't happen. That's the long-form extrapolation of Loki. The reason why everything happens the way that it does, the reason why these contrivances, let's call them what they are, contrivances, happened how they happen, is so that Kang prevents a multiversal war. He knows it right down to the goddamn snap of the second. Because realistically, I forget what fucking conundrum of time travel science this is. But what happens?
It's the Marvel version. It's
No,
string
I
theory,
mean, like,
basically.
no, I mean like the
String
actual
theory.
one. No, not that, how the MCU works. The actual method of storytelling when it comes to time travel rules. The way that Kang works, the way that Jonathan Majors Kang, at least, or at least in this timeline, it's not Kang actually.
Okay, Carl.
What?
Carl. It is like I looked into Kang after I heard about all this. But like the reason I said it's basically a Kang show with Loki tacked on is because they're pretty much everything that happens in that show is part of things that's happened to Kang. Like again, like he was the Timekeepers. In the comics, they take a version of Kang, who's called Immortus, and basically task him on fixing the timeline. Okay?
Yes.
And there are stories where there's a council of Kangs. We was Kangs. And again, this at least from the sense of the comics, okay? The sense of the comics. What this basically is Kang saying to prevent a war with myself from all these variant timelines, I'm going to make one timeline that I'm in control of. And only me. I'm pruning any other possibility until it's only me. Because if I die or the TVA stops doing it, there's going to be a bunch of me's who are all going to fight each other. That's what he's saying.
Well, I know that.
And in the comics, again, Kang, when he's done in the past, there's this one storyline where he fucking breaks time because Ultron is unbeatable. He brings all these other versions of the Avengers. There's a storyline like in a really good run of Avengers, okay, where he fucking does a time war like in Doctor Who. This is why I said Doctor Who, because there's one point where he's trying to stop Ultron at this one point, and he keeps bringing in multiple versions of the same, like all these Avengers, all at once. Oh, it doesn't work this time? I'm going to come back with 10,000 more. And he keeps failing. And it comes to the point where an older version of Kang teams up with an older Tony and an older and basically Maestro and brings the present day Avengers to figure it out. Okay? My point in all this is that that stuff's based in the comics, and how the time travel works in Marvel in general is the idea that and this is something they mentioned in Endgame, even though it didn't really matter, is that every time you go back in time, you create an alternate like an alternate branch. How Marvel works is each Earth now from here on out is caused by an alternate choice. It's the whole thing with string theory. It's the whole idea of Schrodinger's cat. If there was a 50% chance Tony Stark got fucked up when where he gets killed because the machine taking off his armor short circuits him. Until the armor comes off, we won't know if he's dead or alive. But there's two separate universes where one is he's dead, one where he's alive. Again, you're right. The free will doesn't exist because he's literally been pruning any other possibility, so there's no other versions of him. He's the only one. He's the only Kang at the end of time.
I know what you're saying, but that's not what I was talking about.
Okay, go ahead.
When I was saying the version of writing, I was talking about the versions and the interpretations of how time travel works in other films, or how it would be interpreted in other films, like Back to the Future. Like how writers actually use time travel in narratives for reasons. I know what they're doing in the show, but it's fucking retarded is the problem. Yeah. Okay? Like, if this were a good written show that handled time travel correctly, yes, it would be a variation of string theory. Like, it would fit through. The rules would be explained. Yeah. But that's not what this is. It's more like Rick and Morty, actually.
Yeah, that's a great point.
This version of Kang that we get in the show is not Kang the Conqueror. It is Immortus.
Holy shit, it is Rick Sanchez. Oh my god, you're right.
What we have here is now every single decision that was made to make things possible, which is really dumb too, because the TVA breaks this ruling. The way that they designed the TVA as something that exists outside of time, and therefore it is beckoned to its own rules, but now there's multiple versions of this, so now you have the problem of having actors play different versions of themselves. That's gonna be fun. You have the problem with this entire show and its entire lore, as they explained it to us. You have Scientist Kang the Scientist, talk to other versions of himself that realize that the multiverse exists. So you have Kang the drug dealer, you have Kang the pimp, you have Kang the scientist, and then you have multiple other versions, including the Conqueror. And there are other Kangs that see the opportunity that comes from having multiple universes. Yep. And they decide to go conquering them. So, all you really did show is you said to me, hey look, you remember Thanos? This is Thanos but multiverses. That's it. This is not the kind of escalation where it's like, okay, y'all handled a Titan that thought he was doing shit for the correct reasons. But did you realize that you lived inside of a universe already being ruled by a person who has succeeded that you didn't win shit? Every success you had is because I give it to you. This would be an actual important, to quote Far From Home, this would be an actual Avengers level threat. To the point that it would require something like this dumbass team that they're trying to design in the form of the Eternals. Where, we didn't reveal ourselves before because we thought y'all had this shit. But then we realized multiverse theory is a thing, and this guy decided all of our choices anyways. Fuck that shit! It's time to get in there! This didn't happen! Okay? The show told you, hey, all these things don't matter. Everything else that happens after she sticks the sword in my chest, like she wasn't about to kill me, with this being the Sylphie show, now it'll matter. Free will has finally entered the chat. But it's not good. It's just not good. Like, the first problem you have is the Infinity Stones don't work, which is probably something they had to do because it's like, okay, so why don't we have the Infinity Stones to solve this problem? Remove it from the narrative. Let it be its own thing. That's fine.
They noted that's what they wanted to do.
That's fine. Big deal. You remove the tool so you can't rely on the tool as a crutch. But then you go back and rely on the tool as a crutch. Okay? Yeah, the entire reason why Loki would be important is we watched Loki's arc. This is not the Loki that people have been watching. This is alternate universe what if Loki got away with the Tesseract from Endgame Loki. I have no reason to care about what happens to this version of Loki that Tom Hiddleston is playing. Because it is dumb what happens to him, and that he does not do anything to get ahead. If anything, this means that Loki the Lover, that's what I'm going to call the Loki that's dead, Loki the Lover was the prime proper version of what happened if young Loki, from classic Loki, old Loki, was able to actually do the thing that he said he wanted to do. Because this entire time, we haven't gotten a proper fucking Loki at all. We didn't get a proper Loki in his uniform. We didn't get a proper Loki in his outfit. What we got was the modernization that they did to a lot of costumes. Like, I understand that. It's a lot better than Foxman, because at least Foxman didn't put them in these stupid-ass black outfits that have no fucking recollection to anything close to their comic book counterparts.
Spandex.
But then...
Were you expecting yellow spandex?
But then...
David Hayter wrote that, by the way. Continue.
But then, you then show us all of these different ideas you had for variants. You have all of these things that show that at least you have somebody who said, okay, let's quickly reference the comic book cover. Let me eyeball this shit. That actor, that thing. And then let's put in a bunch of references. And then in between cutaway shots, let's put things that only fans with deep cuts would recognize. Like, oh my god, there's Thor Frog. There's Throrg. And it's, there's so much information on screen at any one point of time.
Speaking of, there was another idea I had once where it was basically the idea of like an entire army of like the whole idea was that this character is immortal, and even if he destroyed the universe, he would still be there. And the idea was there was basically a multiversal wave of all these characters that were all variants. It was based off of the idea came from like I think Deadpool kills Deadpool, where there's an entire army of Deadpools killing Deadpool, and there was like Beard of Beastpool. Anyway, sorry, random aside. Realize it didn't matter. Continue.
Anyways, long story short, Loki's series can't be meaningful because this is not the Loki you've been watching in the movies, which has been the problem the entire time that they said they were going to make this shit into Disney Plus series. I'm not going to pay you money for a piece of shit fucking streaming series that is haphazardly made that I must watch in order for me to understand what's going to happen in the next film. Perfect case example of this is Black Widow. I don't need to watch international megaplex millionaire manipulating women into essentially being assassins / sex slaves to your wink to Hollywood. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Did you see what we did there? We said he was Harvey Weinstein, but was assassin. I didn't need to see this in order to know, hey, this is the origin film that y'all really just sold up the fucking river. Because, like, for a laugh, yeah, this is kind of okay, but it's kind of okay. In terms of, like, is this dumb and can I laugh at it? If you tell me I'm supposed to take it seriously?
I'm supposed to take you fucking seriously? Are you fucking serious? Are you blind?
Oh, with your face. You look like Earthworm Jim with that helmet off.
Like, oh god, it's just bad all around. That's all these things have been. If it hasn't been okayly passable to the fact that you forget you watch it, the fact that people go onto Twitter and then defend it as good is bad. Because this is you doing exactly what Disney wants. Because this is how it works. If anything, whether or not she and her other actress win their fucking lawsuits against them, I want to see them also lose some more fucking money. Because the more they lose out on this, the more that people will begin to realize maybe we should just let this shit cool off for a goddamn second.
Corporations are not your friend. What? It's sad that that's a wild concept that people need to be told.
What makes it worse is that because this is how they chose to approach the MCU, moving forward, just like beforehand, everything now has to be scrutinized with a goddamn lens. When it comes to people like Jeremy Jahns, Jay, Chris Stuckman, and people specifically who specialize in breaking down films and analyzing what's good and what's bad about them, Cinema Wins and the Canadian lad over at Heavy Spoilers, the people who slow down the show and watch them in 2.5 speed, where I watch everything at double time if I can, there's gonna be so much shit for you to pontificate about. but none of it matters because they can't tell a proper fucking story. All of that shit's the dangly bit to get you confused and blind you, right? And you are just told, hey, every single major event in this entire franchise is because of one dude. That's a really fucked up way to destroy your lore. That's horrible. Because now, I'm gonna ask, hey, can I see the multi-universal war first? Like, can I just see it? Like, rather than
let's not talk about that. Like, no, go back to that. I want to see that.
Like,
what the fuck?
Like, hey, instead of Jonathan Majors telling, I know why they did that. That's because of COVID. They had explained that was because of COVID. All the other shit that happened before, the shit that happened earlier in the episode of that series episode was supposed to end without any fighting, without any dialogue or anything at all. They put in the Jonathan Majors part because he killed his role. So that was carried by Jonathan Majors just as much as the project itself was kept along by Owen Wilson, Tom Hiddleston, the Lady Loki actresses whose name I do not care to remember because it's trash. Wow. The first thing I said when I saw that fucking outfit and how tiny those fucking broken horns were was trash. It's trash. Trash. If you nutted to that, trash. Despite the fact it's carried on their backs, Jonathan Majors hitting it out the park for Kang and giving that social media energy for his Emotus is fine. But now, you have to realize they're going to use this as an excuse anytime, ever in the future, they decide they're not going to do comic book accurate shit because, well, it doesn't matter, it's convenient, we can do things different, which is a good thing, right? Because I'd rather them invent characters that are spins on other ideas as a pontification of what we're going to see in What If, than them fuck up something and say, here's the character that y'all been begging for. That's not the character. It is the character. No, it's not. They're not black, or they're not white, or they're not Asian, or they are Asian. Anything other than what the original character was. And they're going to turn around and say, well, it doesn't matter. We did it for the fans. They're not going to do that now. Now they're going to say, oh, it doesn't matter. It's a variant. It doesn't matter. We're just going to destroy this character and debase what they look like every single time we put them on screen, just as we're using them for a bit. You know, we're going to take out a serious character, we're going to use them for haha, funny, goofy ass laughing. And that's bad. It makes me not care about the MCU as a whole, because characters I want to see, I know I'm not going to see them seen properly. When it comes moving forward past this, once you get to fucking all these other things that you have continuously fucked up, like Iron Boy Jr., I don't care about Spider-Man, because everybody's Spider-Man. Everybody's a dumb fucking quipping asshole who has some kind of moment to have an insult. So you took away what Spider-Man's supposed to be because you didn't give us a proper fucking comic book Spider-Man. You didn't show us Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. You didn't show us a dude who got spider powers, was acting like an asshole and jerk, and his asshole jerky behavior got his uncle killed. Or worse, you're not showing us the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, where this man lost people. It's just shit now. I know.
They're gonna say to that, right?
What?
I missed the part where that's my problem.
I mean, it is their problem. When they show up to the theater and they don't buy shit, that's the goddamn problem.
I'm just saying that I was making a joke and you know it. Shut up.
I mean, like, I've seen those arguments on Twitter. I know you're doing a bit, but I'm serious. Like,
I was quoting Tobey Maguire, dude.
No, I know, but okay, no, this is the other thing too, because this is the other part along with it. When it comes to the discourse, there are people who unironically go onto Twitter and they'll say, "No, it wasn't made for you. It was made for the fans. We stay happy. We eating. Stay mad. Stay mad. Stay mad." But then they go to the fucking box office takes. They actually look at the money that's coming through it. They see the actual streaming Nielsen ratings, because those are a thing now. They actually look at the ratings, and they're fucking shit. And they're not making anything in the theater, because they released it concurrently online, so people are watching at their leisure. They're not watching during a box office. Why would I go... Fucking quoting... The quote, none other than fucking Mackie himself from fucking Con Bravo in 2017. Why the fuck would I need to go out to the theater when I could just sit in my home theater and just spritz my fucking drink up and be happy? Why the fuck would I go outside? Why would I need to? You told people it's fine. This is how you wanted to release it. You released from time and set date, and then you did it concurrently, and then you looked online and said, wait a minute, these numbers don't look like if people are watching it in their houses, because they're not. They're pirating it, and they should, because why the fuck would they pay for this? So then you do something else to try and catch attention, and it destroys the entire immersion, because now you're doing shit to be abrasive, you know? Like what they do with the CW. Making characters and putting them on screen, like taking... what's a good example? Right now...
Riverdale?
Yes, but no. I was thinking more specifically I was thinking more specifically Detective Comics. Doom Patrol. There's an Asian actor who's like in everything as a day player, who takes on this obscure role as this of like a metamorph. I forget the exact name, because it's like if you've seen the Doom Patrol up to the point where they go to the fucking place where Mr. Nobody was given his abilities, you know what character I'm talking about. It's this Asian actor. He's portraying this fucking character that is supposed to be a metamorph, that is the combination of him getting the experiment done on him, and the actual comic book character's white. The actor is portraying that same character, but he's Asian. They do that shit. They do that shit for attention, so they can get people mad, and then... Well, no, this character's just blonde. So it's just literally just like race watching a white man for the purposes of that, right?
Oh, wow.
You know, like the same as like with Heimdall, but not well accepted.
They're taunting you directly.
Yes, they are jeering at you. They're taunting and jeering at you by doing this as part of a casting decision. Kind of like what they did with the CW actually hiring the woman for Buttercup, who's unironically and unabashedly not just a racist, but a sexist. Like with her. They hire these people who you know have who they know have these openly abrasive opinions, but they don't care because they're all politically woke and they all go along in the same way, and one hand washes the other. So they do it to piss you off, and then when you point out the thing that pisses you off, kind of like critical race theory, they say, but who cares? We eatin'. Because like what we talked about beforehand, they don't want to explain, oh, this woman had a series of racist fucking takes. In fact, here's documented archives of them. Why did you hire this woman? They don't want to talk about that because they don't care, because none of them care. But at this point, now they're losing money for it. They have posted cringe online, and now they are losing subscribers. Unironically, they are losing money over and over and over again, and they can only take so many fucking L's. So
they're bleeding out. Exactly.
They're still bleeding out $60 million. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Before, with COVID, they were specifically losing $60 million every single day at Disney because of how much they were losing in benefits from the parks, losing in benefits from the projects. They're still losing that money. They've been bleeding that money, guys. For a year and a half, they have been bleeding that money. They're mad. They're really mad.
Yeah.
So, that shit's happening. Moving back over to the Suicide Squad, they look over the fucking parking lot over at WB. And they see people who were giving them, I wouldn't say rave reviews, but it's not shit reviews.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Red Letter Media said this. Jeremy Johns said this. I know this is my opinion. I don't know what Jay's opinion is. I can ask her. But the opinion and the consensus when it comes to the Suicide Squad is that, damn, this is really good. Why didn't you guys give us this in the first place? Also, # release the Ayers cut, blah, 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 blah. But the most important part is, it's not dog shit. And I can say from my own experience, having watched the thing from beginning to end,
I fucking enjoyed it, dude.
It's enjoyable. Like, the articles that were screaming all about, oh my god, Harley Quinn's gonna get Harley Quinn vision, and it's like, so schizophrenia. Like, those parts of the film go way by. The opening, I will say this much, the opening scene, misdirection, but at the same time,
that was
the actual core team you get, the actual people who are there, the people who make up the entirety of the running cast, they are fun. There's characters that you don't know of, that you're not going to have reference to, that you're not going to be aware of. Most of the people, well, actually, I wouldn't say most of the people. 2 actors in question. 2 of the actors from the original film that were a part of that central group have been taken and placed in here. They do have important roles. They are enjoyable. Yes, we're eye-rolling at Harley Quinn, but unfortunately her actress still kills it. That's her. She ate it. She put her whole fucking foot in it. She put her mouth on it. She sucked it. She swallowed. And then she smiled and said, more, please. Idris Elba brings it. I don't remember the name of the actress for the rat catcher, but she brings it too.
She was
the Rat
perfect.
Queen. The Rat Queen,
she
the
was
Rat
awesome.
Queen, Bloodshot, and ironically enough, Polka Dot Man are the heart of this film.
Hey, Peacemaker. Okay, can I say something?
I mean, Peacemaker is Peacemaker. John Cena,
They-
John
they-
Cena had a job, and he did his job.
Yeah, and they addressed the irony of his whole existence, a man wanting peace so bad he'll fight for it. They handled that, and they went right where it needed to go. Anyway,
I mean, it's obvious when you think about it long enough.
well, yeah. My point though is that they explained it in a way that made that they did that. It was perfectly executed, I guess.
Oh no! I know what you're saying. What happened is that they showed us something, and they didn't suspect, and they didn't subvert our expectations.
Yeah,
they said, hey,
followed through.
look at this thing. Look at this big ass thing we put a silver chrome dot on. It's gonna be important later. And then when later came, they said, surprise! It's exactly what you expected. And everybody said, yeah! Because it's like, oh no,
Exactly.
not a box of shit. I didn't expect a box of shit. This is shit. Instead, it's like, what's that? Revenge? Betrayal? On the Suicide Squad? Give me more.
Let me put it this way: the movie was people. They don't. The reason subversion of expectations don't work the way they've been doing it is they literally say, "Hey, here's a little clue. Let's put it in our pocket. We'll come back to it later." And when you come back to it, it's like, "Hey, you expected that to be this? Too bad. We're just gonna do it just to piss you off." This movie's like, "No, there's a reason why I put that there. Here you go." And we're like, "Thank you."
No, it's Chekhov's gun.
We've been getting that for fucking years.
It's Chekhov's gun. It's just basic Chekhov's gun, but after, like I said earlier,
After
we're
all
in
these
the
years where Chekhov's gun is literally bait and switch. It's not Chekhov's gun, and we knew you were going to expect Chekhov's gun, so we're not going to do that. And this is like, oh, we did Chekhov's gun. Here's Chekhov's gun, and we're like, thank
Yes.
you. Like my whole thing about Suicide Squad, I think, is how, my whole view of it is this: when you've had, it's amazing. It shows how done to death the Rian Johnson bullshit is. When a movie that basically just says Chekhov's gun payoff,
it
that's
hits
the
different.
reaction. That it's almost sad, but I want more of it. That we have. The fact it's sad we have to ask for it, but thank you.
It's a stimulating and satisfying release of what effectively has been cinematic cock and ball torture. This goes right alongside
Wikipedia, a free encyclopedia.
This goes right alongside a couple of films. Well, actually, no, more than a couple. 3 on my mind right now, because one of them came up in the news earlier. Because I posted this from art that was made for it. Free Guy, Boss Level, and the Suicide Squad collectively, alongside The Green Knight. These 4 films, I believe, could be considered the beginning of the director-led renaissance of actually making real shit.
Good.
I've only watched about an hour and 30 minutes of The Green Knight. And what I can tell you, because I was only watching in bits and pieces, I was trying to do multicast at multiple points.
Yeah.
Between that, M. Night Shyamalan's Old and a bunch of other shit that's come out, you can probably look back up on a backlog if you want to have an exact number. They're recent releases. You're not going to miss much by seeing these things. Yeah. But specifically, Boss Level and Free Guy are 2 of those films that we would have heard about beforehand and would have seen from that were like literal, I wouldn't say film pieces, I wouldn't say individual or indie films, but like films that exist for fun, like Hardcore Henry. Watching something like Boss Level and actually enjoying it, which is basically, it's a Groundhog Day movie, but it's actually enjoyable. It has follow-through. Every single bit of what happens on screen has follow-through. It's intentional. It will explain itself as time goes forward. Things make sense, and it's very much on the level of actual Groundhog Day. Like, all of the things that happen, you begin to understand in the way that it would go, how the fuck that would come to by the time you get to the last about like 10 minutes of the film. It satisfies the itch that you have if you're like, let me just turn on something and let me just try to enjoy it. Free Guy has this as well, but then again, it's Ryan Reynolds. But at the same time, something interesting happens with Free Guy. You have a concept here that we've seen happen multiple times, like with movies like Gamer. You have a main big movie actor, and they put in this concept, and they're like, video games, but a twist. I'd say the last time this worked successfully, and I'm air quoting that really hard because fucking Steven Spielberg with Ready Player One is kind of like iffy anyways. That also too is references on top of references, but it's not as bad as fucking Space Jam, A New Legacy. You have the concept of like games, but blank. With shows and with movies like Gamer or Death Race, it's here's an old franchise about something very simple, like a marathon car race, but people die in it. And here's an actor, let's see what happens here. Or Mad Max Fury Road. Here's a concept from a franchise, you know what's going here, but let us have a story where we use the main character in this to hand it over to this new generation of shit, but in the most disrespectful way possible. In Gamer, it's, here's a concept about video games. What if a person could be playing and controlling a real-life person, but they don't know that it's a real-life thing until the two worlds collide? And every single time something like this happens, whether it's a animated film or it's a live-action film, at least here in the West, over in Japan, they can nail this shit time and time again. Like,
oh yeah.
Guys, if you have never sat down and watched a South Korean or a Chinese, sometimes, it's not all of them, some of them, the Chinese or a Japanese soap, if you've actually sat down and watched like any of these fucking shorthand television series, please do. They are living, breathing light novels. I promise you.
Yeah.
You will not be fucking disappointed. But where all of those films fuck up is, I think, to actually quote Scandalous right now, which is Evan, things like Wreck-It Ralph being good, and then compare that to then Wreck-It Ralph 2 being shit. You have a good concept.
And also Squid as well.
Yes, Squid too, but you have things like Wreck-It Ralph being really good, and then their sequels, dog shit. You have what we were originally going to be given with Sonic the Hedgehog, and then people bitched about it. They got the studio to actually change their attitude. And now we have Idris Elba Knuckles.
Yeah.
All of these things float around a simple problem. How did you fuck it up? You had a simple concept, you fucked it up. Free Guy does something that they can't really do if it weren't for Ryan Reynolds. He is smart with this, and it's the same character he plays in every film, where it's very clear he's doing Deadpool, but he's not doing Deadpool. It's, yeah, I think the proper way to describe it is it's the Ryan Reynolds we would have gotten in the mid-2000s. You know, that National Lampoon Van Wilder character. That character. Before he became big for fucking being Wade Wilson and Dude Bill. He plays that character, but all of the other things in the film, even with Taika Waititi, come together to form this wonderful love letter to video game concepts. Because a lot of those fucking posters that I posted that they made for this as art are fine. The art itself, and the fact that it's using topical video games like Among Us, Animal Crossing, Super Mario 64, not Mega Man 2, but the original retro fucking designed Mega Man, the big burly motherfucker. Those things,
Mega Man?
Yes, that one. Those posters are trying to get to a feel of what it would actually be like to see this thing as a video game. Because there are plenty of times where we've seen not just TV shows, but also movies try to do this thing. And I think the closest we've actually had with mainstream success is Ready Player One. At least do yourself a favor and don't read Ready Player 2. It's really bad. But you had this thing there with Ready Player One, where you had all these concepts and you had people understand basically what it's like to be a gamer and what it's like to be a believer in something. It was appreciative. It was actually heartfelt. There was emotion. There was attachment. And then from you being a person who plays games, if you're like me, you're actually seeing that happen on screen, and it's not just dipped in brain-fried irony. is great. You also have something good here happening with that. But the world of Free Guy is more like, well, I think that's actually one of them, specifically Grand Theft Auto. It's one of those kinds of worlds that's like City of Heroes or City of Villains or something, where you have all these things that would happen and can only happen because it is something that you do in video games. There's a scene where a dude gets killed and somebody teabags him. That's in there. Like, the things...
Okay, that's good.
The things that you'd expect to be in a film about video games is in this film. But then, you have an actress, or technically actors, doing double time, right? You have an actor who's playing themselves outside the game, and then you have the actor portraying themselves in their avatar in the game. They found a way for an actress to not just play off the fucking energy that they have outside of the framing device, but also have the same chemistry on screen with Ryan Reynolds inside the framing device. So you're watching it actually engaged in what's going on, and you're seeing things, and it's like everything makes sense. You know, imagine if you picked up a video game for the first time and you didn't look at the instruction manuals, didn't do any tutorials, and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna go from level 1 and I'm just gonna play. Free Guy does not insult your intelligence, basically. Alongside that, and films like Old, it has a through line plot where it's what you expect from M. Night Shyamalan. Like, we can talk shit about Shyamalan all you want, but the man still makes good shit. It's not necessarily mystery box. It's, hey dude, you're on a beach. This beach is making things accelerate the aging process, and go.
Let's run with it. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, exactly. It's like,
and then
let's establish this thing and let's run with it.
And then fucking Dev Patel in The Green Knight. What can I say about the performance of Dev Patel, and what can I say about this film that isn't, I cannot explain it to you. You need to see it for yourself. That's all I can really say. You need to watch it for yourself. If all the other things I've been mentioning are bad Kino and good Kino, The Green Knight is probably going to be the thing that deserves to have the kind of recognition that the Joker did. Like, Joker,
wow.
This is actual fucking cinematography. Like, it's actual cinematography. I don't know how they got away with making this its own thing without having connected to an Arthurian legend, because it's very much about Gawain. But Dev Patel kills it. Like, as much as Dev Patel kills it, the filming, the cinematography, the score kills it, and the special effect team that actually handle the real special effects you see on screen that isn't a practical effect. They do all of that shit, and it's mesmerizing, and it sucks you in, and it doesn't let you leave. It's good. Period. Hands down, good. If someone's talking shit about it, you should tell them shut the fuck up, they don't know what they're talking about. So,
okay,
go watch them. If you haven't, put them down, put a note down to watch it if you can. And if I'm saying nothing else, at least when it comes to the Suicide Squad, if James Gunn decides he's just gonna jump ship and he's gonna work for DC now, and DC's...
that's been the recurring thing. Everyone's been saying this, basically.
Like, if he's gonna... It's more than just, yeah, we're over here now, we stole your fucking homework. No. If what DC wants to do is they just want to start hiring people to do things, they just want to make shit that's like, hey, take this concept. Basically, if Joker is, let's take a concept about a dude in mental health, and let's make it an origin story about the Joker, the same way that Cruella was basically, let's tell a burglary story about this woman, and we're going to make her into Cruella de Vil.
I mean, to be fair, that was literally what Joaquin said that the director said, was like, we're just slapping the Joker name on it to make it sell. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, that's literally what they said.
Yes. Like, both examples, a good example and a bad example of a studio deciding to take a brand name and use it to market something. If what DC wants to do to basically budget off what they're fucking losing in dollars from the television division is they just want to bring people in to watch the movies, and they want to keep the fucking movies as so far desperately apart from what the TV shows are doing in the Arrowverse as much as possible, keep it away from Titans as much as possible, and keep the Doom Patrol kind of like locked off in its own thing so it can be enjoyable. Which really, I say the Doom Patrol is really Crazy Jane and her ragtag team of miscreants, because that show is sucking. It sucks Crazy Jane's actress off so much.
I'm just gonna say it. Wasn't the run by Morrison the same thing though?
I mean, maybe. But in terms of
Okay,
like,
Carl, I'm stopping you right here. You need to read that run.
I've read the run.
Okay, don't you dare make me doubt you on that.
The problem with this is the point that I'm getting across here. Like, the television divisions are burning. They are on fire. And if they want to just...
Case in point. Fucking Powerpuff.
I mean, that's different department, different show, but same concept, different franchise, same problem. If what the WB want to do, and if what the WB, and specifically the movie division of DC Comics wants to do, is say, we're gonna throw out blockbuster after blockbuster, and we're gonna try and minimize the stupidity of what we're putting out on the Arrowverse on cable. If that's what they want to do, let them do that. And when they do that, actually go watch those films and actually look at whether or not they're better than what's happening over at Marvel. Because whatever the fuck is going on with the MCU is about to come crashing and burning down in a violent fireball in like maybe 5 years or so. I'd say give it 5 years. Because, well, basically, to wrap this up and move on to the next topic if you have one. Because we've got like maybe another 30 minutes. The problem that happens with Marvel is something that they've been doing in the comic division a lot, which is basically making, well, if you've been paying attention to comic news now, specifically with Tim Drake being made gay. He's not gay. He's not gay, but they're making him gay in the books because, teehee, we own your thing, so we're going to destroy it. What they've been doing is they've been making, like, perennial, stupid, childlike, high school-esque drama books. Or books that come out very, very heavily strong in the terms of get ready for the all-new, all-gay generation with things like Aquaboy or Aqualad, but they're selling it as Aquaman, the New Beginning, with the big, queer-ass gay fish on the cover. They've been doing that for a while now. And if people were there to watch the live reading that we did for I Am Not Starfire, which was
amazing, and you need to watch it. What the heck is wrong with you? Go watch that. It's fucking hilarious. I had a good blast. Anyway.
That book and Gotham High is exactly in the same vein of the bullshit that's been losing them money. They've been doing these dumbass things that they didn't really do a lot early off. Because I remember reading The Runaways, the original run, before they decided to make the stupid-ass TV show, in high school. And that is an even... Well, actually, no. The Runaways is a low-down, better-written, low-cut version of what they do now with politics on television. That was a book that had concepts and ideas that were built around the universe of DC and said, what if 6 kids found out that their parents are supervillains? And what they decided to do with that show is, oh, well, look at all the gay! And they did the same thing with the comic division in both companies. You had people like Brian Michael Bendis jump ship from Marvel and go to DC, and you had people like Moose Bauman throwing bitch fits on Twitter, along with people like all the other authors and all the other writers and all the other pen and illustrators and people who have probably blocked all of us on social media, constantly screaming that they know what's good, they know what's hip, they know what's hot and happening right now. And every single time they get shuttered, they get their book shut down, they have to take pencil down orders. This is something that I've been doxxed over, by the way, if anybody remembers. This is something that I've been harassed for specifically about the pencil down orders. One of the people who came around when I was playing Icewind Dale to try and harass me towards the end of the stream when I was killing the final boss. They've been told multiple times to stop making shit like this and stop doing garbage. Shuffled around from different companies, leaving Marvel to go work at Valiant, and leaving this company to go work here, and doing indie there, or people like Madeline Visaggio crying on Twitter saying, help, help, I'm being harassed.
Carl,
I need money.
Carl, do you want to hear a joke?
Yes.
Valiant Comics.
All these writers and all of these illustrators and all these people that wished that they were doing what Marvel's doing right now with the film division is basically the end game that they've always wanted. Because the people who are writing the books, The people who are writing the comics never wanted to write comics. They wanted their comic to be picked up to be the source material for a Netflix movie or a Netflix show. Like, in terms of, like, Kamala Khan's run as Miss Marvel, all they ever wanted was to get it as a Netflix show. So they could fawn over, oh my god, she's so perfect. I love this character. She's such wonderful. So that then when she shows up in the Marvels, you have a makeshift audience full of people who do not read the books and have no idea how shit her run is. The same way that you have people who were doing the same thing demanding Ironheart after Tony Stark was dead. And the same thing that they've been doing with the Carol Danvers version of Captain Marvel. Not the good version of her, the shit version of her. The one without looking like a man. Having all these people come out the woodworks, demanding...
What's wrong with your face?
Demanding to get these versions of these characters in, because they don't care for the books. They don't read the books, they don't know how shit the art is, they have none of that. The audiences that watch the movies do not read the comic books, because if they did, the books would sell. The Comic-Con numbers, ever since 2018, when we've been watching them when it came to Black Panther, and we know because we were laughing about the numbers, and how bad Ta-Nehisi Coates' Nation Under Our Feet run was, we know the numbers are bad. They have been dwindling ever since. The industry is being dwarfed by mangas. They're being outsold not just by mangas in general, being outsold by one book. And it's Demon Slayer. You're getting outsold by Demon Slayer, you're getting outsold by My Hero Academia, you're getting outsold, ironically enough, by Dragon Ball Super, you're getting outsold by older runs of series that have been long since completed and dead and gone, and you guys cannot handle it. And now, it's all crumbling in the real time, now that you're getting fucked over for having fucked over your actors. Because you can't short sell these people who you pay on salary. So, eventually... I say give it 5 years. I wouldn't say to this date. I'd say give it 5 years from the last major motion picture that they put out that was an actual important piece. So, from Avengers Endgame, basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say Endgame.
Time it from then, you're gonna see this shit come crumbling and crashing and burning, and if it's barely still there on the fucking chopping block, the people who will be promoting the shows are not gonna be people watching the shows. Because the people watching the shows are not giving their real opinions. They're being told to not give their opinions because they want to keep it on. And it's not just Disney doing this. It's every single company. It's every streaming service. They're all doing it. Like, right now, if not literally released in a couple of weeks or a couple of days, there's going to be a Cinderella film that has Billy Porter as the fairy godmother, but as the fabulous fairy godfather in all of his gay glory, starring Camila Cabello. And it's very much a jukebox movie. The only reason it's there is for politics. All of these things get made for politics. Even The Boys has this happening to it. And The Boys was a comic about how we tried to get away from that shit. And they're subverting it into that shit for political reasons. So, wash your hand of it, watch it and laugh at it, and use it as the material to review it and to make money off of it. Just don't give them your money yourself. Just don't give them your money so that other people give you their money for you having to spend the time watching that bullshit, but them never having taken your cash.
Have them give you the money so you can remember it so they don't have to.
Yes. And then when Disney crashes and burns, gets broken up into all the companies that it should be broken up into, because we're past the point of antitrust laws coming into effect.
Yeah.
We will be able to say that it's a dead-ass memory, but we don't know. We're still in Biden's America. Wait until the midterms, at least.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
All right.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Next topic.
You were talking about it. I was literally like, I want to download a model of Gunbuster.
What about Jason Schreier getting upset and mad about new fucking gaming studio that just opened?
Do you want me to... I'm going to go on a tirade for a split second.
Go ahead! Become Carl.
Because let me tell you something that really... You know something that grinds my gears? Other gears. No, in all seriousness. There is something that's been bothering me about this whole situation, and I've brought it up. People probably saw this on my timeline, because I've been ultra salty about it. If you're like me, and I know I am, one thing that really pisses me off is about this whole thing with Schreier and especially Blizzard. Not just this, like... Okay. I'm sure you guys, sorry, I'm trying to get the right words out.
The rapings. I'm sure you're all aware of the rapings that happened.
Yes, but more importantly, how much? What he said was, "Oh, I didn't say anything because it wasn't relevant or Gamergate." Do you know who else said I wasn't gonna say anything because Gamergate? You know who else said that? Carl,
There's like 500 names that came up in my head.
Oh, well, okay. Do you know why Mombot took a brief absence from Twitter?
Yes, we talked about this before.
Okay. Oh, you know what I fucking hate Jason Schreier for the same reason why I continuously poke whatever members of Channel Awesome haven't blocked me yet.
Yes, we have totally talked about this many times.
Okay. Now, point is that this whole thing just reeks of that. I want to fucking yell at him. Anyway.
No. Oh yeah. This was the same reason I went on the tirade and explained it before. My entire problem with topical cockroaches, and we talked about that too while we were off air.
Yes,
I'll summarize that problem. People like Jason Schreier are the reason why I do Carl posts. They're the reason why when I post something on Twitter or when I post something on TikTok, I put what I'm talking about in the frame. There are people, not saying their names any goddamn more, but there are people like, say, the people over at the cornfield, people like Jake and Hannah and Sarah and any person around them, and then around the smaller crumb tubers, their followers and people who they interact with. Or more specifically, to quote a very good example, the Surfs, people like Lance and his debate partner that got whooped so fucking hard by Lauren Southern that his debate partner deleted every single video on his channel, changed his name, and just completely became a persona non grata because of how smug they were that they made her win by default. That in total is the reason why these people are fucking mauling right now. Especially when it comes to Jason Schreier. Jason Schreier's problem is a little bit different. This is a person who is a cockroach in games journalism that for years has propped up other people. He made the careers of people who now make $50,000 plus. It used to just be $50,000, but it's $50,000 plus for just literally sitting down and shitting out any fucking opinion about video games and then saying gamers are bad, give me money. That is dumb, and it shouldn't happen, but not having standards is what got us here. But the problem with Jason Schreier is now, not only do we have a perfect case example of, I knew about the problem, but I waited until it was politically expedient and financially lucrative to do so. It is now, I see a whole bunch of men standing on stairs. Clearly there's a problem here.
Dragon Booba clearly is a problem here.
Mm-hmm.
And Booba.
I'll put that on screen in a second. Hold on.
Do that. Yeah.
I am scrolling.
I'm trying not to cut you off at the same time. It's funny to joke about.
This shit right here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes. I knew all about this shit happening at the company. Don't you know? And also, it takes like Dragon Crown. The Dragon Crown sorcerer is clearly pedophilia bait. If you like this is clearly rooted and sourced in lolicon.
Well,
a grown woman's body.
He would know a lot about that, wouldn't he, considering how many people he hangs out with who've been outed as pedophiles or whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, from the same man who told you a woman's bouncing breasts are exposed and jiggling, disproportionate, and immediately striking, being a part of a lolicon fantasy to appeal to people who are interested in lolicon fantasies, subquote, and people interested in lost breasts, is the same person that when he saw a picture of developers on a screen said, there's something deeply misogynistic here in this company. There's a problem, don't you know? It's horrible. Who'll think of the children? Who will give the ADL a fucking kickback for the shilling?
I wonder.
He goes further and far beyond the take that I said, which is if you're a part of the people who have known about this for years, and you said nothing because you wanted to maintain access journalism, you need to be removed from your job. This is an open case example of what will never be talked about properly, because this is the other problem that comes with topical news or discourse in general. You don't document these things. You, the royal you, the internet. You guys make memes about them, but you will never show them what they're talking about, right? Because I will tell you what causes this problem, okay? I showed it before, but I'll show you in this situation. The problem with Jason Schreier is he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He doesn't understand what words mean. He says a grown woman's tits are lolicon fetish. This is because the game industry hates the idea of what they consider to be the proper, modern, beautiful woman. We've seen this because of It's Gundam. Because at least Gundam puts what they said on screen. They've tried everything they can to erase it, to block it, to get the archives pulled officially as a source of DMC takedown notices. They've done everything possible, but it hasn't worked. Because they know it's ridiculous. So, when you show what they actually say, it removes the ability for them to ever give an opinion. Right? Because people know this take about Dragon's Crown, but then they write the same fucking stupid shit saying, oh, I write columns about this all the time. I know what I'm talking about. It's just like this in Estelle, in Trails in the Sky, or in Nanami with Soroikin 2, or the same thing in things like Ni no Kuni 2, which is a goddamn lie as well. Because that doesn't happen in things like Remastered. It doesn't happen in shit like fucking Dark Cloud and Dark Chronicle. It didn't really have a lot of it, if you really want to say abuse of the female body, and something like Odin Spear. Didn't see this a lot in Disgaea. Realistically, this would actually be a selling point with those kind of games. You don't see this happen a very lot with things like Genshin Impact, although it's in the same vein of it. They just say shit. They just say anything. And then, when it comes time to actually deal with problems, they point at something that is not news, and they make it news. Because that's all they're allowed to do. They're only allowed to do this. Because if they talk about the actual problems in the industry, everyone's gonna come for their throat. It's like there is an unspoken, well, no, it's spoken, but in Whisper Networks, but a visible, unspoken, like, pact between shills, where they say to themselves, we will not point out you are lying, because I know that I am also lying. But we will collectively agree to say any person who talks about this is just an incel, or misogynist, or a nerd, or a misogynerd, or a turbo virgin, because us talking about this makes us look bad if they can find out that what our real opinions are about the gaming industry. I didn't even know there was such a thing called the Cosby Room. But put that right alongside him saying publicly, I knew about the abuses at Blizzard. There should never be another gaming company that lets Jason Schreier ever do any coverage of their game ever again. It should be just like DM Brandon and Smite, where Smite had to come out and say, you're banned from our game for life. We know you worked for us. You can't make content about the game. You can't play the game. You can't say our name in a sentence. Fuck off. That's what should happen here. But it won't.
Why won't it, Carl?
Because it's too powerful.
Of course. Exactly.
Card coaches have emboldened each other to believe that they need to become the ones that control who gets to be the gatekeeper. Because the only people who complain about the gate are the ones who the gate's supposed to keep out. And
Funny how
so,
that is, huh?
and so, what has happened time and time again is some stupid, sympathetic motherfucker, whether it be a white woman, or
Why?
if this happened earlier in our lives. Unironically, around 2014 or so. Technically, it's 2012. I remember because I was graduating high school at that point. If you are somebody like me, who went into high school and then went into college with a wide open view that, hey, when I get to college, I'm going to be able to meet new people, see new things, interact, and get to talk to all these companies, and get to actually make a living playing the video games that I love for money, and become a streamer, and interact with them, do things in the collegiate scene, do things in my life, and be able to do that. I did all that shit. You know what I discovered? Non-trustworthy people are usually always the one given power because they have played the long game. People like Jason Schreier played the long game for power, so they could become kingmakers and decide who gets to be heard and who doesn't get heard. Because that's what actual reporters do. That's ironically what gatekeeping is. Their job is to tell you what is news and what's not news. But, as you should know, after years of being fed political tribalistic bullshit, you have a left-wing media that are sympathetic to basically presenting anything that they dislike as the devil. They say a lot of other words too, but all of those words things like Chud, or when you hear it from the mainline streaming source, especially if you fucking watch them cover Christian. Raise your hand if your eyes rolled back in your head when you saw him glaze the screen of fucking Trucker Carlson.
That was funny. People thought they were doctoring it though. Because there was some weird like fire hydrant shit going on in the background, you know?
I don't fucking know anymore. The timelines have merged. The dimensions have merged.
Yeah, pretty much. We're fucked.
Give us long enough, there's gonna be a Nega Carl walking around here.
He's gonna be wearing all black clothes, isn't he? Just like every
Nah, all white. All white.
Oh, that's true. He's gonna be a white guy.
No, black man wearing white clothing. Think of Mr. Negative from the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Oh, you mean the comic? Shut up.
I know, I mean the comic.
You got me angry there.
I mean, how many people actually read the comics and how many people actually played the Spider-Man PS4 game?
Shut up.
I'm just saying.
Shut up.
But
I'm saying you need to shut up before I shut you up for you.
Aggressive and breedable. We'll see how that works out.
Oh,
but anyways,
the one doing the breeding.
Anyways, when it comes to Jason Schreier, when it comes to the gaming discourse in general, this was a problem that people probably would have been able to see when I broke down a particular fucking clip that I went over from the Eric Kane Actiblizzard article. If you haven't seen that article, I will show it to you, because why is that link broken? I'll fix that later. I will fix that later. Either way, if you have not seen the article, this was an article written by Eric Kane, who's one of the co-hosts with Colin Moriarty on Sacred Symbols, which is the video game podcast, and is one of the people who works directly with people like Sophia Narwitz. And Eric Kane had a take in here that is fucking mind-melting to me, and that was that he rightfully recognizes a problem that happens a lot when it comes to discourse of any kind. People, eventually, because people are lazy, you're not me, their job isn't to look up is not to look up the archives and look up the truth and actually assess the lying and the actual record and match them up to who's telling shit. It is, oh, I saw something in the news. Let me go onto Twitter and look that shit up. They will go to somebody who they trust as an authority, and then the authority will say things like, yes, I know who you should blame. You should blame Milo Yiannopoulos. And then, at the same time, they say, blame Milo. They will not blame the other person who should be blamed. And in this case, it would be, Jim Sterling.
Yeah.
Specific
Sterling.
It fucking kills me that he's wearing the wig still.
I love also how he's like, I'm losing all these subs.
I'm losing subs.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
Like, I'm not losing subs because I'm being abrasive and people don't recognize me for the work that I'm doing because I've made the transition my personality with this giant piece of fucking hair that I got. No, it's not that. It's the people. But no, in the same breath that he'll say, we blame things in 2014 on grifters like Milo Yiannopoulos, he then directly quotes a fucking grifter. I'm sorry to say that if you still believe. This is not John Bain we're talking about. Rest in peace, Total Biscuit. We're not talking about a man who's solid, who in his younger years became softer and softer because he didn't want to spend his time yelling and being angry at the world. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about the kind of people who created the problem that we're dealing with now. Where you'll have people like Vito Gestalt go onto Twitter and get mad that people like me will quote him by name and by word and say exactly the problem, and then his response is, you only have 6 words. These people are, unironically, the higher tier political topical cockroaches, as the other ones we deal with on a regular basis. Yeah. Every week, another one gets exposed. But these are the original ones. All of them have been working together, crawling over each other, metaphorically and physically. Metaphorically and literally, crawling over each other, allowing these problems to fester. And they never said anything, because the Whisper Network was there to cover them. Now, the problem here, I'm not throwing this at the feet of Eric Kane for his opinion. This is a Substack article that was written specifically to bring a light to the problem. I'm not blaming him for that, because at least he's able to recognize the problem, and he says it clear openly as he can. People lied on behalf of Leigh Alexander with the Gamers Are Dead articles because Eric Gianni exposed something about someone else. He at least says that part. The problem that I have umbrage with is that in the same breath he says this is the problem, he does not actually address the bigger problem, which is it's no longer here. We're gonna blame things on Sargon. We're gonna blame things on Dankula. We're gonna blame things on the left. We're gonna blame things on SJWs and anti-SJWs. We're no longer here. We have grown past the need for those things. It's now just tribalism. People do things now for tribalism. And the gaming tribalism has grown to the point where people pick an issue and they pick a person who's getting hurt or getting trolled that week, and they either say, do we defend them or do we stand them? How based are they? And then from there, the problem spreads. In April, the problem was, well, what it usually is. People screaming about anime titties, people screaming about anime subtitles, people screaming about dubs and versus subs, people complaining about Funimation, and what have you. Then, Ashley Roboto happens. Then that whole rigmarole goes through. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, go watch the last podcast. I'm not going to go over here. But then fast forward now, what's the problems that people are looking at now? Here's another thing to actually talk about for next week. Funimation and Sony combining together to become one company. Now, we're about to have a whole bunch of discourse that's going to kicked up. That's about, oh my god, yes, finally, it really happened. Now I can watch my anime and properly see everything. And it's like... you stupid bitch. Because at the same time this happened, what did Catacomba do? These motherfuckers came out and said, we're dubbing it ourselves. We're writing it ourselves. We're going to produce it ourselves. We're doing it in-house. We're selling it at an affordable price. Fuck you, Funimation. And then they left.
At their actual same convention, too, no less.
At the same convention. The balls. The balls on these chads.
I'm happy for them, yes.
Things like that don't happen without the discourse, you see? Without people like me. It sounds egotistical to say that like that.
It does,
but without people like me, more specifically, without people like Dimitri. Without people like Dimitri, without people like myself, without people like Yeefy, without people like all the people who talk about this, like Lunar Activist, who likes to make a lot of archives about this. Or when it comes to things that are in the sphere of Disney, people like Data Racer. Actually sitting down, click, 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 archiving the messages, and then producing them on screen.
Yep.
Them doing that, when it comes time around for them to say, okay, we've finally had a proper thing. Here's something good that happened this week in discourse. Isn't it great? People will come out of nowhere and start chopping them to shit. How many times now do we see people posting the same screenshots of the altered footage and parts of dialogue from Kobayashi Miss Dragon? How many times?
Yeah, well, you need to keep doing that, because for fuck's sake, people still try and, like, stand. For every time we bring up something like that, you have someone being paid off by Funimation. I am looking at fucking you. What's her name? Red Bart is cool. To say, oh, that's not the case. What are you talking about? Oh, we're talking about this, and this, and this. And then they block you, because they have nothing to respond to. They were all give these
it's worse
cards.
than that. No, it's worse than that. They have identified a person who they have to block in order to maintain the narrative. That's the problem.
I view it as a badge of honor, to be fair.
I mean, realistically, it's better for you to have the ability to see what they say, but again, if you're people like us, blocks mean nothing. Bitch, archives go through accounts. I'm sorry.
And to be fair, Carl, to this day, I have Mars Girl endlessly quote tweeting me behind the block whenever I at her.
She's still going?
She does that a lot, dude. Like, you
should make a video of this.
All I need to do is fucking, like, reply, like, basically post that meme I made. That's basically the Drake meme of, like, her saying, "No, I'm not gonna cover that. Oh, I'm gonna cover this." That's all I need to do, and she'll do it. Like, it's not as much on command anymore, but it happens. It keeps going, And I love living rent free in her head.
You have to make a video of it.
Love it.
You have
Oh,
to
I'm
make a
going
time
to.
lapse of like all the messages that have happened and all the ones that you're provoking out of her. Well, no,
You know what? Carl, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make an animation, like a story time animation. That's a good idea. Thank you.
but
I'll start working on that.
that's the problem with especially when it comes to fucking, oh my god, when it comes to fucking Japanese animation, when it comes to actual anime. High Spice Guardian was revealed and it's gonna be dog shit.
Fucking hell, that was great to see.
Um,
Oh, look at them. They try and make an anime. Let's see how long that
Funimation combining with Sony and the merger being completed, now resulting in a monopoly in discourse, because that's what I like when I want to go see some really creative shit. I want to see a monopoly. Yeah, anime Disney. That's gonna be great. It's all scuffed to a point where it's like my same opinion that I gave before. If you're gonna watch these shows that they produce, do not give them your money.
Oh,
What's
exactly.
gonna happen, just like we saw before, the money is not going to go towards paying the anime industry, because that's not what happened
Hell no.
with High Spice Guardian. In fact, High Spice Guardian is a perfect case example of that. Fuck!
That was what started thing. Carl, you got to realize.
Yo, I
started
remember.
Animating.
I remember, I was
started
there!
Animating. I started animating then. Heck, I did that because.
Nah, man, I remember when that shit happened. Because,
That was amazing.
like, my entire thing, if you want to say, oh yes, finally, a show made for us by Crunchyroll, it's great. I mean, we all have seen the pictures and all the crops made of all the abusive things and all the fucked up shit that Kate Leth has done in her life. She had an affair with a married man who died of cancer and was considerably having a very intimate and serious, like, nutting me daddy BDSM relationship and shit, but fuck all that out of your fucking narrative. Remove that from repeating the story, because that's just funny for people like me. If you're gonna attack High Spice Guardian and give it criticism, you need to remember 3 things. Number 1, they said they were gonna give their money to the Japanese studios. They did not do that.
Do you remember Yagi Numa-san?
Partially.
Okay, here's the thing about him. He was an actual. This all kicked off around the. This is why it was a perfect storm. We just cut it short after this, but perfect. One of the reasons why it was a perfect storm, Carl, was because Yagi Numa-san was just digging into them. He was basically saying, "You guys are claiming that you give this money to actual animators and support the industry. That is a bold-faced lie, and it's technically could be considered fucking what's the word he used? Like fucking charity fraud is what he called it.
No, it's charity fraud.
And their response to that was, I'm not even joking, and they weren't necessarily wrong about this, but he's a Holocaust denier. A guy whose stuff is on your fucking service, and your response is he's a Holocaust denier.
Oh no, that's exactly what's supposed to happen.
And so that was a perfect story, because I was just kicking
When-
off.
Like when they
were
get
saying, we don't give, we give our money to them. We give our money to them, and then
Like-
they announced this. It was you could not have asked for a more perfect situation. Sorry, continue.
Like there was another thing. I don't know if it's the exact same person, but there is a fucking article that was published of an interview that was given to a head of, I want to say it wasn't Studio Trigger, but it was another animation company from Japan, and they were asked specifically, "Do you see money?" Because I've put it in one of my tweets before.
I'm pretty sure.
Do you receive money from them? And they said no. We see very little of that income come in from the mouth of the studios. They don't see the money, and then. But right after that shit happens, what do we see? A giant video of, oh my god, look at our new offices here in California. Look at all this new shit we built. And then you look at the actual payment that they give to subtitlers and letterers.
Oh yeah.
It is as bad as if you were to look into fucking Sony of America.
Yeah,
but
it's almost bad, not worse.
You have to remember, when you criticize High Spice Guardian, like, all the spicy shit concerning Kate Leth, yes, that's fucking retarded too. But condense, focus, organize, and hammer them, and don't stop hammering it. Number 1, she shits on men and women. Number 2, she's very misandrist. She is very, very hateful. And number 3, the show does not spark joy. It is the same bean mouth bullshit that we have been seeing and been receiving. It's the same ooh-woo girl bullshit that's supposed to be oh so cool, but isn't. It's just another fucking note in the book, alongside things like He-Man Revelations. It's another case of something that was mishandled and was received so poorly that they buried it for 2 years, hoping that people would forget. Because, hey, how long is a year on the internet? How long is 3 years on the internet?
One thing someone we're gonna need to bring on this is Squid, because she has personal experience with the person who ran that company into the fucking ground.
Elation or women in animation?
Oh, yes. The person who runs Elation was the head of Women Animation when she was working with them.
Oh!
Or rather, you didn't know that?
I did not know that. No.
You need to watch fucking Easy Peasy's video, because he references her in that. Dude, like I've been saying, we need to have her on because Marge ran Women Animation, told a woman of color to fuck off because you can't. She basically said to Squid, "Oh, why don't you come into one of our?" Because Squid's living out in Indianapolis. She's like, "I've been paying my dues. You said you were going to give me work. You're not. Oh, why don't you just come into our workshop? You just fly out here to California. We can have a meet and greet." And she's like, "I can't really do that. I live out here. Oh, I guess I can't help you." And then she makes this show. Point blank, which Squid has told me, has been, "I dodged a fucking bullet." And I'm like, yeah. And I keep telling her, there's a paradigm shift that's going to come. As you said, 5 years. I believe it. And if anything, COVID basically fucking accelerated all this shit. That's where we're at right now.
You have a whole bunch of people.
All COVID did was basically accelerate this bleeding out. And there's got to come a point where they're going to say, do I want to make money, or do I want to actually fucking keep driving this into the ground? And there's going to come a point where they're going to say to these people, look, you're not making us any fucking money. We are bleeding out. And we're almost there. COVID literally put fast forward on that. And it's fucking coming. In the words of the great prophet, it makes you laugh saying it. The great prophet Alex Jones, I'm coming.
The problem when it comes to the whole thing with animation is the fact that they don't have a lot of work, and actors and also members of the staff are just like, we made the show, but we're looking at Twitter and people are trashing us, so like I'm about to jump. Like we saw this with New Raw.
The production wrapped years ago. The showrunner literally put out a tweet saying, "Hey, production's wrapped," and I'm like, "We haven't heard anything about this though." Oh, that was fucking hilarious. And then there was a whole thing where they were testing the pilot, and like someone came to Confish TV about that, and then they were told to shut up about it. It's like, oh, I guess it's true then.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. Sorry. I've been following this show from the beginning, mainly because I started animating, anticipating the show was gonna fail.
If anything, this show is probably the best case example of what happens when you try to marry politics to becoming the head that controls the Western and Eastern American seaboard view on what they consider anime to be.
Oh yeah.
It's the ultimate example of what happens when you have people who say it doesn't matter if I watch on subtitles, and seeing just the cultural difference, not in just the response of the audience, but seeing the cultural difference and, more importantly, the mindset of people who prioritize the original author's intention and the actual spirit of what is essentially man-children watching animated shows and declaring that this wins the internet.
Carl,
it doesn't work anymore.
Never forget that someone at Crunchyroll said, like, this was a guy who basically...
Oh, I know this. I know exactly which guy you're talking about. Oh yeah, everybody knows. Everybody knows which guy. Miles.
If you use the Japanese name, you are likely a pirate. Well, fuck me. I guess I'm a pirate then. Screw you.
It's everybody knows with Miles, because Miles is a fucking idiot, and that's why he hides the same way that Anime News Network hides.
Yeah.
The problem that they have culturally, because a lot of them say they understand this, but they really don't, because they keep doing this. So I'll say it here. The reason why they keep having this problem when it comes to Crunchyroll is that Crunchyroll literally debases itself as the #1 way that people interact for anime. But they are a shit service. And this was the thing that I roasted Lachlan, the pedantic romantic, about, and why she, because I won't be transphobic today, why she went on a mauling spree, yelling and taking me out of context when I first started Carl posting, and why one of my fans actually made a very easy self-help guide of referencing exactly what they didn't want to mention. It's like a perfect, here's the shit I said, here's the 3 fucking bits that you decided to show to your audience before saying, oh no, this person's fucking insane, I'm gonna block them. The website started out as a piracy website.
Yep.
You then committed felony. Not, oh, we were taking money and getting donations to keep up the servers, and we decided to reinvest it to support the anime industry. You stole money that you were given to continue doing a felonious and illicit act, to then buy property rights after years of never paying back dues, which probably were reappropriated as kickbacks for the company, as like, here's the amount that you need for startup, and then here's a fee amount on top of it, which this probably would be really solved if Crunchyroll did this thing called acknowledging it and actually showing the financial papers. Because this would be legal paperwork that they would have to document paying back this lump sum of money. You took money that was known for a felonious act, you then bought rights to then stream the services properly, no longer being a pirate, and then you turned around on the industry and you pulled the ladder up behind yourself. And you dared to look down on people and say, how dare you be a pirate? You created a culture of antagonistic.
For you.
They created a culture of being antagonistic to the very demographic that they are trying to market, and paid people like, well, I wouldn't say Digibro's the fault of this, but Digibro goes in there because he's part of the first stream and second stream of YouTubers.
She goes in there.
She goes in there.
I still can't believe that. I'm sorry.
Digi goes in there along with Mother's Basement, and also along with all the based ones like Sidsnap and Giguk. But then along with all the soy ones like Joey the Animator, like Joey the Anime Man, and Akidearest.
Am I the only one that thinks that Mother's Basement sounds like a discount Spoonie?
No.
Good. Because I said that to my brother earlier. I said it to Stony earlier today, and I thought it was funny. Anyway.
They go in with all of those first string and second string and even third and fourth string anime YouTubers, along with the Neuralities.
Akidearest is third string, yes, indeed.
And then people like Neuralities is fourth string, but they keep getting presented as though they're second string. They're not. I still have to make that last one about their fucking overall gaming, their overall take about anime in general, but I haven't gotten to it yet. I've been holding off on it, because this shit in my house. They go along with all those people who are to be blamed for creating that, I only live for this, this is what we do here, we go to anime conventions and visit them kind of attitude when it comes to featuring what anime is to people in the mainstream. Because that is what people in the mainstream are. They're fucking they are recency bias having, stupid tier jumping, clout chasing casuals. They don't actually watch things that are unique. They don't see things inside of a genre and watch them for what they are. They're like Neuralities.
You're special.
They're like Neuralities. They go into to watch for a specific thing. They want to see some queer version and representation. They want to go in and watch a fucking josei or a girl love or a boys love story. And then when they hit their head on something based...
They need to watch Boku no Pico then.
They hit their head on something based, like Goblin Slayer, or Rise of the Shield Hero, Tate no Yusha. They hit their head on something like Freedom of a Healer. I can't even begin to pronounce the name of that show without having to say the last part, but Kaifuku. They go in watching these shows that are designed for an audience that wants to see something that is fan service in nature. Fire Force goes in there too. Technically, My Hero Academia goes in there as well. What's the last one? Interspecies Reviewer goes in there as well.
By the way, one thing I did see this week, I don't know if you saw this, where Bakugo apologizes and someone has...
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. That's something for next week. But all of these shows go in there where they look at the show feed and they look at what the show's doing and they say, I represent this. Well, first they jump on early when it's getting popular, when it's become popular, you know, after the last series ends, like when they started dropping off after Darling in the Franxx to go to the next topical series. They jump onto a topical series. They say, oh my God, I love this. This is everything. I love it. Look at it. And then they go in.
Buy my loot crate.
And then they go in, and then they look at the show, and it's like, the show's misogynistic. The show's problematic.
This is how I look at it. I'm a fan of the show, but, and then I quote, then I always reply with the Down Danko line, that's cool. I'm not racist, but.
And then,
despite.
Like, after crying about it for, like, hours on hours with, this is my interpretation on the reason why we need to have author separating the art from the artist, because this author's work is extremely problematic, thread number 1 out of 5,000. Then they wrap back around to it being based if something good happens in it again. It's a wave of going up and going down and writing the curves and writing the trends, and then something major happens, something that shakes up the story. You know, if I were to base it in a viewpoint of how people react to this in real time. You take me, you take people like Shutmort, Michelle, and you take a degenerate who loves anime for everything it is, so GM Shivers, or the Darling Fujoshi, or pretty much anyone on our timelines who we know personally. You probably know 5 degenerates that'll go crazy for shit like this. Me, I'll look at these shows and I'll watch it and I'll say, yeah, that's a good show. Memes are funny, and whatever. People like Michelle will get into the show, and it's like, oh my God, I love him. He's mine. I'm adopting him. He belongs to me now. Or the other kind of way that, you know, Fujoshi's become, which is, I love this fan sexually and everything about them. I own a shirt of everything they have. She's like that with Boku no Hero, or yeah, she's like that with My Hero Academia, and she's like that with Rick and Morty. I was about to say Boku no Pika Academia for some fucking reason, and that's your fault.
Welcome.
That's your fault.
You're welcome.
They'll go in and they'll watch the show and they'll love everything about it. They will buy the merchandise, they will watch the show, they will enjoy it, and it will actually be a meaningful thing that they attach to, because they actually read the chapters and then they watch the show as the chapters are being made. It's very much the JoJo effect. When people complain about JoJo saying, oh, here comes the JoJo fans to get mad at it being gay. And then the JoJo fans walk behind and like, nigga, do you not realize that we would love to see this man suck some dick right now? Like, I'm telling you right now, when we get to Stone Ocean and we see our boy Pucci on screen, if he is not ass deep inside of Dio's cheeks, all the other way around, we don't want it, okay? That's a part of what the show was made for. And it's fine that it happens. It would be also fine if it doesn't happen. Because what people want to see is they want to see the anime come to life. They want to see the manga come to life. They want to see their characters come to life. They don't want no fucking reach around political bullshit.
Reach around.
And unfortunately, that's what people like Funimation do. That's what they've always done. They've outright admitted it now. Thanks, Jamie Markey. Click, going in the Crown compilation. They've come out and they say that they do that. So now, you have that third type of person, the one that comes around people like me and around people like Michelle, and they start saying, oh my God, you're so problematic. How could you watch this? And it's like, nigga, don't look. Like, nigga, don't look. If you don't like it, don't look. And it's like, no, I have to look. Why? Because it's horrible. How could you make something like this? Think of the children. Bro, this is fan service. Why are kids here? Because I have to be allowed to see it. I know it's bigger for me, but I wanted to watch it because it's my fucking culture.
Your fucking culture, huh?
It's fucking brain melting, because Dev has gone through a video about this. They see it as a piece of their identity because they see everything as some kind of immutable. They see these immutable factors, not immutable, mutable factors about themselves that can be changed and are not something set in stone, and they make them their personalities. And then when something changes, like in the case of Bakuto, we'll talk about it next week, but in the case of Bakugo, his character apologizes for being a toxic fucking piece of shit, and these people are fucking crying. Like, oh my God, you ruined him! Oh? You're saying you identified with the fucking social reject who is clearly a sociopath? You identified with being a piece of shit. Huh? Imagine! I never would have guessed. It's wild, but that's what we're at right now. Mm-hmm. So, when it comes to these topics, for someone like me, like we talked about this earlier, I see this and I'm like, I'm staying away from that. I don't want to be anywhere near this dumb shit when it happens. And then people will come along and they'll see it happen. It's like, oh my god, bro, did you see it? I'm like, how did you not see it coming? Have you not been paying attention? Did you not see the fucking sign on the wall? The big bloody letters that said, "This way belies bullshit"? Beware! I don't know. It's obvious. I'd say it's obvious, but it's not obvious. Because, well, they hide it. Trick you coming in the door. Thanks for your money. Oh no! The shit, it's bad. Give me my money back. Nuh-uh, you gave us your money. Fair square. We held it now. Yeah. And then they use that money to do it again. Now that it's crashing down in all the divisions, we'll finally get people hiring for actual skill. We'll get voice actors who don't shit on their fans, whether they be Western or Eastern.
Hello, Kellen Goth. You're awesome. I want to do a quick shout out to that man because he is freaking awesome, and he's literally the kind of people I need to see in the industry. I will die for that man. He is awesome, and he's amazing as Diavolo, and I will stop sucking his dick because he's bi. I know.
I wouldn't say that he's the best, but I would say he's one to watch. He is one of the people he's one of the people whose career was made literally by FNAF, and he's been doing everything he can to make it work. And that's good. And at the same time, I'm looking at the fact that he's working around places like Funimation, and I'm like, let me ask him a base question on an off-camera microphone, and I want to see what his real opinion is when he says it. I reserve my opinion until we see something of that moment. Until then, I don't know. Because as a voice actor, I have to ask myself whether or not people are like that. Because even as I make my own shit, because I've gone through the process, and with a lot of bullying from you-know-who, I'm more than likely going to start publishing a book soon.
You mean your girl, right?
No comment. I'm going to start publishing a book soon, and I'm also going to start coming out with my radio drama. I have to actually start hiring voices and shit. It is a paid thing, and I have to actually put together the blast for that. So, once I work all those numbskulls and shits out, and then write down shits like contracts and whatnot, I'll have that out there, and the whole entire thing that I worry about all the time, not just from the how am I gonna eat today position as a worker, but also from the why would I fucking hire you position as, well, a creator now, is what is the real opinion of these authors, and what are the real opinions of these writers, and what are the real opinions of these people? Because I just think of Tara Strong and the shit that happened because of the fucking taxi, and I'm like, none of that's happening with work that I'm doing. Any person who I work with is either going to be on the fringes, or is going to be a complete professional. I don't care if they're based or not. I don't care if they're Brittany Lotta. I don't care if they're Jamie Markey. I don't care if they're Jamie Markey but Brittany Lotta behind the camera, and vice versa. If they can do the work, and they know how to shut the fuck up when it comes time to promote their work, I have no problem working with them. The second they go onto Twitter, and they start antagonizing, not just our current buyers, but potential buyers, bro, I'm firing you. Like, I'm firing you on Twitter. I will call post and fire them on Twitter. Because, like, have we learned anything, basically? If we're willing to do it again with individual work, like, we see it's shit, why would you bring that environment to the shit posters club? Why would you bring that shit here where we're all supposed to love it? And you guys are just like,
fucking do it again.
Yeah! Like, yeah, that toxic shit that we didn't like, that was great. Let's do it again, and worse. Brain off. Just brain off. But I think that's everything for today. Anything you'd like to add?
The no comment is going to need to be addressed at some point, but for now, I will let you off easy.
No comment.
I figured as much. I'm sorry, I have too much fun with this. I love tease. It's a sore spot that I'm gonna wham like a fucking hammer, and I'm gonna enjoy it, and you're gonna enjoy it too. So I'm gonna tease you about it. I'm gonna give you a Nagatoro in this. Carl, I'm gonna be a Nagatoro. Sorry, I couldn't resist that joke. I couldn't resist it. I'm sorry. There's actually someone in my moods that has that name. I thought it was really funny. So pray for me because I want to get me a nice, wonderful waifu myself. But one thing at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Well, as the podcast ends, so must we. We must leave.
Carl,
must
do
leave.
I need to take you out then? Take you out behind the thing. He said we must end, right?
I do not want to be broken, please. Please.
That's not what I meant, but okay.
Is what I meant.
Fair enough.
From here at the podcast, I am Single Player Carl. You can find me where Single Player Carl appliances can be sold, and this is Charza.
Aye. Say goodnight. Say goodnight, Coral.
Good night, everybody. We will see you same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah, I'm on the red schedule, so sweet.
Later, bitches.